Okay, friends, neighbors, countrymen, and everybody else. The power amp, the range power amp that we built on this channel in December is good. I like it. I did get a phono preamp that's also a tube phono preamp, and that's good. But I have noticed a lot of my components that I have in my stereo system, with the exception of a CD DVD player, really could use some more gusto signal going into that amplifier. You have to really kind of turn it up and push it to get adequate volume, particularly out of the phono stage. And even with the CD player, you kind of have to have it at half or more. So I think we need a preamp. So what did I do? Like a smart person, smart, yeah. I went on eBay and bought something cheap. So this is a tube preamp. It's a do-it-yourself kit that comes with no instructions. I got a power supply. I've got a box case for it. I've got a bucket of components, and I've got a board, and then I've got some, I'm assuming there's tubes in there, and then I have some hardware. So we're going to build this, and there are no instructions. Great. So what does one do when there are no instructions? We use our intuition. So normally what we do when we assemble a board is we would start with the smallest components and move up. So the smallest, flattest components on these are usually resistors. And let's just go for, there's a lot of resistors in like these two. There's 4 of this one and like 5 of this one. So let's determine what value this resistor is. Let's see, yellow. And it's hard to do with the color. So we'll say this is what? Yellow, purple, so 4, 7, orange band, so that's 40, is that going to be 47K or 4.7K? That should be 4.7K, I think. I'm going with 4.7K as a guess, but there's no point to guess. We have a meter. So let's put our meter across there, switch our meter to ohms, and you don't have to be not colorblind or a total rock star to figure this out. So we will measure one of our resistors, and that comes in 4.65. That's a 4.7K. So now we know that all of these resistors in the bundle are 4.7K, and I'm going to stick them into the board and solder them in. Yay! Step 1. All the resistors are in. This is probably a little grand of a solder tip to be using. It seems to be giving me a tough go. Why am I having a tough go here? Is it because I'm working at a weird angle that I can't see worth a hoot because I'm trying to cater to the camera? That's probably the case. I really should switch to a smaller iron tip, because this is the big one I use on tube soldering. But I'm not missing the mark. He says while missing the mark. Anyway, rinse, repeat, and keep going. And that completes the 4.7K resistors. Now we need to proceed to whatever the next resistor value is, since there were 4 of these. Let's just see what this is. This is yellow, black, black, so 4.7 ohms, I think. 4.7 ohms. Let's check that out and verify that I'm not crazy. Come on. Stay in one spot. Got it on the wrong value. I had it on K. Put it on ohms. 4.7 ohms. Okay, so on the board that instead of saying 4K7, that would say 4R7. So you have 47R. 47R? Did I read that wrong? Is that 47 ohms and not 4.7 ohms? Let's make sure. Yeah, that's 47 ohms. Read your decimal places carefully, children. Otherwise, you can be as absent-minded as me. So we have some 47 ohm spots. We'll put those in and rinse and repeat. Okay, so fast forward a little while, and all of our resistors are done. All of the resistors are the small little, I would say quarter watt, maybe eighth watt, but probably quarter watt. And then we've got this big boy, which is probably a 2 watt. It's not specified. And then we need to move on to some smaller components. I would say the next one that would be nice and low, which I probably should have maybe waited to put that on, would be the ones that say 4001, 4001. Those would be diodes like that, and you just observe which way the stripe goes, and you can put diodes in, and there should be, see, 1, 2, probably 5 of them it looks like. So I found, see, there's the third one. Usually in these kits, I'm very rarely do I feel like I've ever been shorted parts in these, which is a little different from full-blown amp kits that I bought before. Granted, I think the vendors of these are really concerned about possible returns or additional shipping if the order isn't perfect in the first place, and they probably, you know, pre-pack these because they're selling a lot of them because of the low price. Anyway, put the diodes in with the silver stripe lining up with the silver stripe on the board, or the white marking indicating the silver stripe on the board. So I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of those, and then solder those in. Okay, so diodes are in the appropriate orientation. 4 here, 1 over there. And next we're going to do our non-polarized little capacitors. These are labeled as 105. They are 1 microfarad capacitors, and there are spots for them in 3 places, and they should fit down pretty tight to the board there, so we're going to put in those 3. Okay, looking for the next shortest component, there are some LEDs. They go in the middle of the tube sockets. They're just for visual effect, I suppose. And the longer lead is the plus, so look for the plus minus markings on your board when you slip your LEDs in there. And they should go all the way down flush to the board, and they stick out just a little bit. Just put those all the way down. Long lead to the plus, and then we can solder them in. Give you all a little bit more solder smoke, I suppose. despite the temptation to clip several leads at once, you're more likely to goof up your solder joints by doing that. So stick to one at a time, and don't try to clip them gut-wrenchingly flush to the board, please. Okay, so we're pretty good. This one looks like it kind of lifted a little bit off the board, so I'm going to just heat it back up and slip it back down, and then double check my connect if I'm... There we go. Now that one's back down flush to the board. Solder connection still looks okay. Trim that. So yeah, even people doing this on YouTube can goof up from time to time. That wasn't a major goof. The caps are probably the tallest. I think the tube sockets are probably the next shortest. That and the volume knob. Let's take out a tube socket. These are these little 5 pins. That's some what are they, ASMR or whatever, the sound of crinkling paper. It should be relaxing, right? Just listen to the sound of my voice. It should give me a couple kajillion hits if I just say it's ASMR. And it looks like that fits pretty good. Just a tiny bit of pin manipulation and it's in. And just to help yourself out, once you get it over, just give your pin a little bit of a bend on a couple of them here to keep it from falling back out and kind of keep it snug up there while you solder it in. So we'll solder in the 2 sockets and then I'll see you again. Okay, so helps if I remember to rezoom, because if I don't re-zoom the camera then I come way out of frame. So yeah, tube sockets are in. I got the solder to flow all the way through, so it's connected both top and bottom side. That looks great. Volume knob will do next. Probably have to straighten a few of these because they look a little bent up. But that plugs in over there and goes in one way. Can't mess it up. Okay, so I found my first mistake. I was going through the bag and I found another 1 microfarad capacitor and another diode. I see where I missed a capacitor, so I can just put that in. But I only see spots for diodes. I see numbers 1 through 5. So either they gave me an extra diode, or there's a number 6 diode that I just don't know where it is. I'm going to go with they gave me an extra diode at this point, because, you know, looking for the missing capacitor, I didn't have any trouble finding where that goes. But we'll keep looking. If I find that diode, you'll be the first one to know. So here's the spot that we can potentially goof. I need to actually look these components up so I know what they are. They look kind of like transistors, but they might be voltage regulators. There are a couple of these labeled 667, which go on this side as TR1 and TR2. And there are some of them labeled 647. So there's 647 and 667, and we need to make sure we don't mix those up and put them on the wrong sides. So there should be 4 of these, and there should be 2 of each. So this one is 667, so that's going to go on this side. And what I'll try to do is you know, a couple. I'll probably do these individually just so I can clip the leads, because the leads are going to kind of be close together, easy to mess up, you know. Okay, so those 4 are in. Now I've got a power jack that goes over here, and audio jacks that go, you know, here and there. Okay, so now for some capacitors. Let's see. These are the high quality ones. I think we saw Chang X. Yeah. Those are audiophile grade, I think. And can't be without your audiophile grade capacitors. All right, so it looks like we've got 470 microfarad, 35 volt caps everywhere. I don't see any other value. So all of these should be the same. And they're actually 50 volt, 470 microfarad. Oh wait, there's one that's different. There's one that says it's a 16 volt, 470 microfarad. Well, it's the same friggin' value. So are all of these 50 volt? 1, 2, 3, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 3, 7, 9. So yeah, they're all the same. I don't see any different voltage. So we do need to observe polarity. So the white stripe that indicates the negative, we're going to put towards the white shadow here on our board to indicate the negative. Otherwise, these could go kaboom when we fire up our device. Okay, so looking at where we are, we've got the entire board soldered. I don't see any unsoldered pads down there. Bring it under the light here. Probably out of the camera. Oh yeah, of course it is, so we'll bring it in the camera here. I don't see any unsoldered pads, and we got all of our electronicals on there. Hooray. So I suppose it's time to do the hardware. They give you like generic little hardware to kind of like just make it stand off the ground so it doesn't ground out. But I did buy the version, the deluxe version with the box. So I guess I need to play jigsaw puzzle with the box and see how that's supposed to work. Now this should be, when we're done with it, this has the scratch protection thing on it so you don't scratch it. Otherwise this should be like a clear plastic plexi kind of box. So obviously there's holes for various things, like that would probably be the volume knob, and this one would be the those, right? Maybe it goes this way, or maybe it goes this way. How do we know which way it goes? Well, I think based on what this is, because this one goes up here for the tubes. So then I would put the 2 up there. See, so it's just a simple puzzle. I'll figure it out. Okay, so I solved the puzzle. The only thing I did outside of whatever is I put little foot pads on the bottom so I don't scrape up my desk with the screw heads, because there's screw heads on the top and on the bottom. The hardware, you've got, you know, stud above and below. So I figured it all out. And this is an on-off switch on the power supply too. So that's kind of, or on the volume knob, it's got on-off. So that's cool. Now let's get our tubes out. These, I think, are little penodes. They're like little, I think they're a sharp cutoff penode. The one that I always think of in US that's a sharp cutoff penode that we use sometimes is like AQ. It's, is it, no, it's not 6AQ5. It's 6Q, shoot, Q12, 12A. I'm almost there. It's be 6AU6. That's what I was thinking about. Okay, so the pins are kind of wonked on this, so I can straighten them. These look like old surplus military tubes or something, and they say 6J13. or a 6J13 or 6J1B or something. 6J1. Okay. That's fun. The one's like stamped sideways. Boy, somebody really cared. They were really being careful with these. These probably have just been laying around in a bucket for eons, and somebody said, hey man, I got an idea. Let's come up with a... Of course they're not doing that, and they're not, you know, speaking English, but they're like, hey man, I got an idea. Let's make a little preamp kit, and we can take these little 50-cent tubes and get them used and get them sold, and some goofball in America who likes puzzles and electronics will put this together. If I'm not mistaken, you can buy these tubes for like peanuts. A lot of these tubes, they're just absolute peanuts in price, and I think there probably is a domestic tube equivalent if we wanted to upgrade this in the future. Okay, so the tubes are in, and I guess at this point we just plug it in and see if it explodes, and then we can go listen to it later. I can't tell input from output because the writing on the board is Chinese, but that's okay. We'll figure it out. It's how we usually do things on this channel, so we just figure it out. Okay, so we're plugged in, and then we'll turn it on, and our little blue glow LEDs are lit up, and no capacitors have exploded. And I can see I got lit filaments on both tubes. So, and then somebody sends me a message on my phone, so we're gonna go listen to this and see if it seems to do its job. Yay. Well, this would normally be the point of our video where we were listening to the lovely sound of the device, but unfortunately there is a problem. I was able to troubleshoot it very, very quickly. One of our two 6J1 tubes is stone dead. I had a dead channel, so I switched the RCA jacks to see if it was, you know, the channel through the preamp or my cables. And it was the channel through the preamp. So I switched the tubes, and the dead channel moved. And then I switched the tubes back, and it moved again. So one of these two tubes just doesn't work. These tubes are probably only $1 or so a piece, and there might be a better alternative for $1 or $2 in the US tube market. So I'll find out what they are. We'll get some good tubes, and then we'll be able to eventually listen to it. But our project build was a success. These things are only like 30 bucks. I think this kit's like 35 bucks or something. And for, you know, what it was, I think I had some fun building it. Stinks that we have a bum tube though. Oh well, we'll see in a few days.